All right, let's dive in. Today, we're cracking the code on one of the most, well, colorful, but also one of the most confusing parts of the English language, idioms. If you're an advanced learner and you really want to start sounding more like a native speaker, this is for you. You've probably been there, right? You've done all the hard work. You've got the grammar down, you've got a huge vocabulary, but then someone says something and you just feel lost. It's that strange feeling of knowing every single word in a sentence, but the overall meaning just completely evaporates.
You hear a phrase like this and your brain just stalls. A cat? In a bag? What is going on here? If you try to translate that word for word, you miss the point entirely. These little expressions are like a secret code, and today we're going to give you the key to unlock it.
Okay, let's get into the English idiom puzzle. And look, if you've ever felt confused by this stuff, you're not alone. That feeling is completely logical. Idioms are kind of designed to be tricky if you're not in on the secret. So first, let's define exactly what we're up against.
So here is the absolute heart of the matter. An idiom's meaning isn't built from its parts. You just can't add the words up like a math problem. The phrase as a whole has this other figurative meaning, and that's the real message. That's what makes them so tough.
And if you want to know just how big this challenge is, take a look at this number. Over 25,000 idioms in the English language. Yeah, that alone is enough to make anyone's head spin. But don't worry, if we can put some structure to this chaos, it becomes totally manageable.
So before we can talk about the solutions, we have to really understand the why. Let's break down the 5 core reasons that idioms create such a massive hurdle on your path to fluency.
All right, here's our roadmap for the next few minutes. First, we'll talk about how they seem to defy all logic. Second, that hidden history they carry around. Number 3, all the different regional variations. Fourth is how easy it is to get them mixed up with other phrases. And finally, we'll cover why they're so tricky to even catch when you're listening to someone speak naturally.
So this first hurdle is a big one. Think about it. You spend years learning the rules of English, right? You learn to trust that words mean what they mean. And then idioms come along and just break all those rules. They pretty much force you to throw out the literal meanings you just worked so hard to learn.
Idioms are basically little time capsules. They're packed with references to history or old customs that nobody really remembers. Take spill the beans. I mean, why beans? Well, it probably comes from ancient Greece, where they used to vote with beans. If somebody knocked over the jar, the secret vote was revealed too early. Without that little piece of history, the phrase is just weird.
And this brings up another tricky part. English isn't just one thing. In America, to ward off bad luck, you'll hear someone say, knock on wood. But if you're talking to a Brit, they'll say, touch wood. Same exact idea, but a totally different phrase. You have to know which version of English you're dealing with.
And the last couple of hurdles are all about precision and perception. It's super easy to confuse an idiom with something that sounds almost the same, like a phrasal verb. But just as important is how they sound out loud. In a real fast conversation, a phrase like, it's a piece of cake, gets smushed together and sounds more like, it's a piece of cake. If you've only ever seen it written down, there's no way you'd recognize it.
Okay, so we've laid out all the problems. We've seen the chaos. The big question is, how on earth do you tackle a list of 25,000 phrases? You can't just memorize them. The key is organization. We can turn that chaos into a structure you can actually learn from.
So instead of thinking of one massive, terrifying list, we can start grouping them into themes. Think of them as buckets. You've got your animal idioms, your food idioms, body parts, weather, sports. All of a sudden, it's not just random noise anymore. You start to see the patterns.
Now let me show you just how powerful context can be. Take a look at this quote. This is where the idiom, steal someone's thunder, literally comes from. It means, to take credit for what someone else did or to ruin their big moment. And trust me, once you hear the story behind it, you are never going to forget it.
So here's what happened. Back in 1709, a playwright invented this brand new, amazing sound effect for thunder for his play. The play itself, it was a flop. But guess what? A rival theater down the street immediately stole his thunder machine for their show. So he famously complained that they wouldn't let his play succeed, but they were happy to steal my thunder. How perfect is that? That story just locks the meaning in your brain. All right, we've defined the problem, we've given it some structure. Now comes the best part, the actionable stuff. Let's walk through the actual strategies you can start using right now to move from just learning idioms to truly owning them. This is your mastery toolkit. And listen, it's not about finding one magic trick. It's about combining a bunch of smart strategies. We're talking about immersing yourself in TV shows and movies, keeping a special idiom journal, practicing in conversations where the stakes are low. It's a whole system.
Now let's zoom in on that journal idea, because this is a real game changer. This is about being an active creator, not just a passive learner. For every single idiom, you're not just writing it down. You're noting the meaning, finding a real example, digging up its origin story, and, this is crucial, creating your own sentence. Then you find a synonym and maybe even draw a little picture. You're attacking it from all angles, which makes it stick.
Okay, and here's a huge pro tip to help you avoid getting totally overwhelmed by that 25,000 number. Prioritize. Seriously, don't try to learn them all at once. Just focus on the top 100 or so most common ones first. You know, things like break the ice or call it a day. Master the essentials and then build from there.
So let's take a step back. We've taken this big, confusing puzzle apart, and we've put together a clear path for how to solve it. This journey takes you beyond just speaking a language and moves you into that final stage of really living it.
And that's really the big takeaway here. Mastering idioms is like the final frontier of fluency. You're moving past just words on a page and into a real deep understanding of the culture behind the language. You start to get the jokes, the references, the shared history. That's when you know you're not just translating words anymore, you're feeling the language.
So, I want to leave you with a final question to chew on. Language is alive, right? It's always evolving. Idioms come and go. So, thinking about our worlds right now, what's a really common English idiom you hear all the time that you predict will be totally gone in, say, the next 20 years? Start listening for them and see what you think. Happy idiom hunting.